The tendency of power to corrupt makes mysterious the willingness of people to encourage its centralization. The greater the reach of concentrated power, the more arbitrary it feels to its most remote subjects. The world has produced many power centers that are competing to shape the future. They are all either frighteningly insular and would at best treat the conquered as would the Roman army, or if not ethnically or doctrinally insular, they openly seek to control things that most people either reserve for their own discretion or don't think should be tampered with, such as the natural order of our air, sky, earth, water, genetics, or bodily autonomy. You can see the sales pitch for these things, not so much today as a few years ago, since there has been a backlash, but I remember there were companies trying to develop and pitch coercive technologies, and I'm sure there still are. What gives their salesmen inroads into public policy is corruption, the coefficient by which private resources are converted into public power. In Gavin de Becker's book, The Gift of Fear, there's a section about forced teaming, which is when the manipulator tries to talk you into the feeling that you are in a situation with them, and that only together can you succeed and get out of it. The people who would earn a millstone use such tactics on the innocent, like help me find a puppy. About 10 years ago, I started doing some meetups, and I ran into a group of people that it felt like they were trying to groom people for something that wasn't being talked about up front. I stopped interacting with them when it felt like they were trying to create a we where there really wasn't a reason to have one, and they started trying to draft people into events. I don't know what became of them, but I felt like they were trying to get people involved in some kind of activism. Who knows what people really want? It can be wrapped up in anything. What people really want at the individual level is security and admiration, love, basically. I've made the mistake of ascribing a group consciousness to a profession, but really each person is a discrete unit that has its own agenda. And a lot of people have an agenda that serves their material needs and draws to them the attention they want. Go through the thought experiment of considering people, be they historical or contemporary, and think about whether or not they glow in the limelight. There's an energy that follows attention, and when you can excite people and get them to fixate accordingly, there's a feeling to be had in that. That can be a drug for people. The people who make power structures, they are all individuals with fears and desires. And maybe not all of them have a price in dollars, but enough of them do. And for the ones who don't, there's other ways of influence. I was going to put this in a video a couple days ago, but now it's more relevant. And that is that war is like a fire. It's like starting a fire in the most dangerous and dry circumstance where it could get out of control. The other thing it does is it creates a strong impetus to close the gap between what is and what is possible in terms of technology in the quest to kill people and destroy things. To have to go to war with major powers in the midst of a technological inflection point is a double danger. Technology is moving faster, and it's being combined with the impetus to basically push the envelope of what's possible in terms of like war technology. There are so many things that could be done that are novel. Not all of them have to be for killing people. But as it relates to those types of technologies, the inflection point creates a threat that there could be a gap between two powers that would be sufficient to tempt one to attempt at an outright conquest. It could be extremely dangerous. But yeah, I mean, there's technology, so much new technology that people haven't thought of all the different applications for it. Like, for example, I have this cat, and it's great for pest control, but it's not really like good at warning me if there's trouble. Not like a dog that would bark. Cat just kind of fends for itself and expects me to do the same. But what if I had like a collar that had a way to read its vital signs, and that it could identify when like the cat has identified a danger? Like, there's got to be a reaction, because the cat's got senses probably just as keen as a dog's. So it could be like akin to a dog bark that the cat could give you through a translation device in its collar. Anyway, in the news, this thing that's going on in Eastern Europe really seems to be escalating. This recent event could trigger a serious response, because certain assets of a certain type were hit that fall under certain treaties. It feels like we're getting to like a crisis point, I think, and maybe there's going to be a retaliation, that costs humanity, or maybe cooler heads will prevail and we can revisit JFK's speech, A Strategy of Peace. But it feels like the decision makers on this side of things might consider themselves too righteous to negotiate with the adversary, whom they consider too treacherous. But the stakes are too high to ignore. It seems like the possibilities are a dire consequence stemming from the retaliation for something that has already occurred, to some type of negotiation stop hostilities and the killing of people, or 3, a decisive victory for one of the parties, and thus an expansion of or ascension to hegemony. Options 1 and 3 are the most costly and terrifying. And option 3 would put so much power into too few hands and put humanity far from the radius of consideration, too much of humanity. We don't have sufficient mechanisms of decision making at the highest levels to chart a safe course in this world of dynamic situations and technological change. Even if they were designed well originally, the protections and checks and balances given us originally in the Constitution have been eroded away by the reaction to crisis after crisis. Our rights have been saddled with caveat after caveat. Politicians always have to be given the appearance of doing something. If they don't do anything, they're afraid they'll be held accountable. And so, like Lilliputians, they tie down the people, despite their inalienable rights, one regulation at a time. Politicians and administrators have a bias towards doing something, but something is not always the best thing to do. Every man-made problem started off as some kind of solution for an individual or a group. The internet connects us all to each other, and so there's always somebody who's going to throw tomatoes at you if you discount the importance of the thing for which they hold up their banner. But every solution solves a problem that was created by some other solution. The solutions are seen through the front windshield, and then the problems they cause are seen in the rearview mirror, but there's not much thought stopping or slowing down. A problem is identified, a pitch or a product is created to address it, and those who solve the problem reap the benefits. Then there may be a cover-up or disclosure of the problem that the solution caused, but eventually someone will come up with a solution to that problem as well. And all the solutions are something to sell. Back to forced teaming. There have been commercials that advocate for some policy or product that has many official seals of approval and is imposed on the public through business regulations or medical mandates. These are products and policies that give strangers the rights to put things in your body and determine your movements like a farm animal. It's like building a prison around people using technology. There's always somebody developing coercive technologies and trying to sell it to public policymakers. Maybe it's time we all agreed that those technologies that dehumanize people by controlling their bodies or movements should be illegal, and so should their development and advocacy.